I'm Dewan Johnson. Welcome to the Think Bigger Actors podcast, where I share with you different kinds of talks and coachings and conversations with actors and industry professionals on thinking bigger. I hope these conversations will help you on your path to success, because I believe success is an inside job that starts with your mindset and the thoughts you hold dominant in your mind. Change your thoughts and you change your world. Your path to thinking bigger begins now.
Welcome back to the Think Bigger Actors podcast. I'm your host, Dewan Johnson, and you're getting ready to listen to a Minisode. That's just a mini podcast. Take a listen. Heyo, we are back for a Minisode. This is our first Minisode for season 6. I love Minisodes. If you aren't aware of like what I'm doing with the Minisodes, like I can only do the the guest interviews, a bigger podcast like every other week with my shooting schedule. And for potentially when I have even bigger shooting schedules, I always like work that in there. I manifest that and I work that into my schedule so that a every week podcast, a big one, it's just not possible because I do a D12 shot. I have an awesome intro. I have all that stuff inside of the episode, and it's a lot. You know what? It's a lot of work. So the minisodes are just like one question or one, thought, and it is one solution, one answer. Nothing big. I won't go into it. They'll never probably be over 20 minutes. Nothing that I don't even think I'm going to get to 20 minutes with the minisodes. It's just, I don't know how this will evolve, guys. I don't know. But I know I love talking to you. I love being in this seat. So I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going until somebody tells me not to. And who's going to check me, boo? Not you. Oh my God, that's so funny. I love that. If you don't know what that is, that's from The Real Housewives. I don't watch it, but my friend Colleen always tells me about The Real Housewives. And so it's our running joke. Okay, so this week for the minisode, I got a question about agents. So there's two things I wanted to talk about with agents. And I want to talk about agent abuse, and I want to talk about getting an agent that you're excited about and you feel that, rides or dies with you for you. So the first one is agent abuse. I was working with a client of mine and they were talking about how, an agent they had in the past was, I think it was recently actually, they have an agent they had. Yeah, it was in the past. That was abusive, that really said stuff about their hair, really said stuff about they weren't going to do this or do that, or just really not supportive. And that always hurts my heart because I hear it often, by the way. This isn't like an isolated event where I hear that, reps are not very nice to their clients. By the way, it happens on all levels, right? I won't just say it only happens with people who are just starting out or people who are middle or further along, whatever it is. I've heard it throughout the entire, span of the career. And I just want to say that, if you are in a relationship with an abusive person, period, not just, on an agent front, get out of it. Get out of it. Your mental bandwidth, your mental health is not worth it. This business is not worth it. And anybody trying to tell you that, you need to lose weight, or you need to cut your hair, or you need to be straighter, or you need to not act this, or something like that, that is not somebody being totally supportive of you. When you get signed with this person, this is why it's so important to be your full, authentic self in your pictures, in your meetings, and all that stuff. So when they are signing you, you are in those meetings, you guys get a good sense of each other. And I'm going to be honest with you. Even as I'm saying this, as we're getting ready to run the heels of Pride Month here, I used to hide, my sexuality. We talked about this before. To I would say the first half of my agents, and I've been through a lot of agents, 12 agents, I would say, out here in my span of 20 years in my career. But what I want to say is like, because I was told like, this is what I was supposed to be doing. You don't want to be out. You don't want to do any of that stuff. And I don't feel like we had a full relationship. And it was really kind of hard on me because, they would say some sexist jokes or something that felt like, against LGBTQ. And it just didn't work. But that was on me. That was on me because I wasn't my full authentic self. But when you are your full authentic self, when you are in these relationships, it is very important that nobody is like abusive. Like you don't get to talk to me that way. You don't get to say these things to me. No, it's just because we've created this hierarchy with agents and managers and casting directors, like the actors. We all need each other. We all work together for each other. So if you are in an abusive relationship, if you feel that like, hey, that wasn't real nice, or that you didn't really, that sucked that you said that, you can have that conversation and you can move on. The worst that can happen is the agent will drop you or you guys will split ways and you will find somebody else. I promise you, you will find somebody else. It will feel like maybe you won't, but you absolutely will. And you have to have confidence in that. You must have confidence in that. A sidebar to the story about agent abuse is like my first manager that I had, when I was leaving her, one of the things that she kind of told me, and my agent, was that I wasn't going to work anymore. I'm making a huge mistake and I wasn't going to work anymore. Well, that was awesome for me. That was awesome that somebody said that because I was at that ripe age where I just wanted to prove anybody wrong about my career. And I was like, great, you're wrong. And I did prove her wrong. But like, how dare somebody say that to me just because we're breaking up, that I'm making a huge mistake and that I'm not going to work anymore? Yeah, I'm sure that agent and manager right now is, when I saw that person again, I just wanted to say, Google me, bitch. You know what I mean? But I didn't because I'm not petty. I am petty. No, so it's really kind of cool with that. But agent abuse is really serious for me. And, I don't want anybody to feel like they must go through this stuff. You don't have to have reps. It's not that important to have reps that treat you like crap. So, and in turn, you shouldn't be treating your reps like crap, by the way. You shouldn't be like, talking to anybody. Like, so if you're that person, no, it's not great. I've seen actors who talk to their reps that way. And I'm like, why are these people staying with them? Why are they treating them that way? So it's not even, so the other part of that with agent abuse, let's go to this part. I got a message on Instagram. I'm not going to say the name of the person because I don't, maybe they don't want me to say the name. And it basically says that, you mentioned in my industry trend of, I mentioned before about people who are being scared of their agent and their team. I actually am not scared of them. That's what this person says, but they don't do anything for me. And I feel as though I've missed out on a lot of wasted time with them. How would you suggest getting new management, getting a new team? And I have yet to find a team that looks out for me and trusts me as I do for them. This is a great question and a great thought. This goes back to what I was saying in the beginning of when you are in those meetings, this sets you up. I talk about this in my First Team Collective membership. We have a whole program on this where I'm talking about when you start with your team, when you have that first meeting, you have to know before you go into it, the ideal relationship that you are looking for. And so when you are in that first meeting, this is the conversations that you are having, trying to get a full understanding of this person as best you can. You're asking the questions, you're getting a feel for them, you're getting a sense for them to make sure that this is, the relationship that you want to be in, because it is a relationship. And that happens before. If you don't have understand the ideal relationship that you want, and you go into these meetings from a hierarchy place, thinking this person, anybody, please pick me, choose me, love me. You go from that place of actors, what they usually do, then you're going to absolutely get into a relationship where you're like, oh gosh, they don't treat me well or not. I don't feel like they're doing much for me and all that stuff. No. That's not the case if you start from a good place. Now, here's what I want to say as well. If you start from this place of mutual understanding and from a team, and then you get more data, meaning that down the road, you understand that this person isn't what you thought they were, then leave. Actors feel like they have to stay with, their reps for a very long time. I'm going to talk about that in just a second about leaving. That's if you get new data on that. That's something that you can do. You can absolutely leave, and just be like, okay, I'm going to get somebody else, that rocks with me the way that I feel I'm going to rock with him. And that's easy. Just go out there, I talk about all that referrals and, all that stuff about getting agents and managers and talking to new people. That's how I've always gotten my new team, either through referrals or through my other members of my team, my managers or agents and stuff like that. So that's really, really, really important. But more importantly about this is, if there is one thing that I have consistently heard throughout all of my years being an actor, is most actors, 90+%, are not happy with their team. They're not happy with their team. And I feel like, go back to listen to some of my my earlier episodes with Anthony Boyer, who is an agent who is phenomenal, who came in and spoke with us, about this. I believe that this is, I think that actors think that when they get an agent, when they get a manager, that the floodgates of auditions are going to open up, and it's going to be like fire. It's going to be like, this is all the auditions and I'm going to be getting everything. And if I'm not doing it, then these people aren't working for me. That is just not the case. That is just not the case. A lot of people stop working when they get a team. They think the team is supposed to take over. That is not the case. That is not the case. You still should be out there meeting people, networking people, giving them, I want to say, fuel to talk about you, to not one up you, but to talk about you, to pitch you. That's the word I'm looking for. To pitch you in as much as possible. And so I believe the synergy started to happen for me with my team as soon as I started to understand that they're not just working for me, we're working together. We're working together. And so, that's one thing to think about when everybody's like, my team is not working for me. There's also to be worried about the way the industry is going right now. The industry is right now. I have a team that I went out to breakfast with last week. Last week, Monday, my team called and said, we put it together. My manager and my agent, got together, all three of us, and we went out for a meal. And before that, a month before that, I went out to eat with my agent. This is a new team, less than a year that I've been with. And what I'm saying by this is my team loves me. I have been working within this last year. They said, Duan, you're one of our only clients that are still working a lot and all stuff like that in this industry right now. My team loves me, and I still have not had an audition. I would say the last time I've had an audition would be March. So that's almost a couple of months right now. But I understand the industry right now. And yes, you could say, but Dewan, you've been on set working, in that past time and this year. Yes, I have. But if we're talking about auditions, it still matters, right? It matters. I'm talking about work I've already banked. That's the work I'm doing right now. But auditions. So if I wanted to start complaining, I could say my team isn't working for me. I understand where the industry is right now. I understand that I'm not going to throw a fit right now. And I know people are auditioning because I coach them. People come to me and I coach them. So I know auditions are still happening, but they might not be so plentiful right now. And that's okay. That's okay. So what else can I be doing to make sure that me and my team and my brand keeps getting bigger? It is not just going to be this thing where it's okay, well, I'm just going to wait back and I'm going to see what happens. That's not the way this industry works. It doesn't work that way anymore. It absolutely doesn't work that way anymore. So for this listener and for everybody else out there who is, having a conversation about reps and stuff like that, yeah, maybe your team isn't working for you, but maybe your team is working for you. Joe Girard said this in my summit talk, in the Think Bigger Actors Summit, not the retreat. The summit, I had a virtual summit. It was, how do you know your team isn't working for you? How do you know? Make sure you have a conversation with them before you go drop them and you think they're not working for you the way you want them to be working for you, the industry. It's always a big miscommunication, I found too. It's always a big miscommunication. And sometimes it isn't. Sometimes you just got to go. So that's my talk on agents. That's the Minisode on agents. And I really, really stand by that. And I think, if you want a team that rocks with you, you want a team that works for you the way you do for them, then you're gonna also have to pick like I said, go back to the ideal relationship. When you start those meetings, you understand this is what I'm looking for. I had an hour-long meeting with my agents in the first meeting before they even signed me, to bring on. So I know them. I understand them. There's things that have come up in the interim, since we've been working together. And I'm like, I didn't know that part. I just put that in the back of my head, and I'm kind of like, that's something for me to think about. Yeah, right. So I kind of catalog that. But all the other stuff it's good, and I'm understanding that they're not going to be guns a-blazing. I hope they are. I'm out here trying to create stuff, create my own material. Make what do you call it, networking and stuff like that, so that they have stuff that they can use on me. But they're also bringing stuff to the table, and if there isn't any inventory, we'll call it auditions out there, then we can't make them happen. We can't say they're not rocking with us. So I hope that's helpful. I do think agents, actors, we have it all wrong. We think that agents are, once we get them, that's the godsend. It is, they're great, but it's also just a part of our team. So anyway, I love doing these minisodes. So as you can see, if you are on Instagram and you want to ask a question or something like that, or you want to, something like that, I might get to it. And so you got to share it. Get out there and share these minisodes in this podcast and stuff like that. All right. I will see you next week for Pride Month, and I will see you for a full guest interview, and then we'll keep going with these minisodes. I'm so excited. Talk to you soon.